Welcome to the California-Nevada chat this Friday, May 9th. We're so glad that you joined us. The weather's getting warmer. We're getting closer to summer, and I know we're all getting very, very busy. My name is Nikki Gatch. I serve as the Executive Director of the Southern California PGA. And on behalf of our president, Dr. Allison Kurt, as well as our colleagues from the Northern California section, President Nick Bailey and Executive Director Caitlin Doyle, welcome to the chat. We have some great speakers for you today, but at first I'll turn it over to President Bailey for any opening comments that he has.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki, and welcome everybody. It's going to be an exciting hour, obviously with Don's full of energy, so I'm looking forward to his talk as well as Craig. So we've got some great speakers. So thank you to Caitlin and Nikki for setting this up, and I'm really excited with Don updating us on the PGA front, and then Craig just on the legislative front. I think that's increasingly important over these last year in particular. So looking forward to it, and I'll turn it back over to you, Nikki.
Okay, thanks so much. Well, without any further ado, we have our president of the PGA of America, Mr. Don Ray, coming to you from, I'm assuming, Augusta Ranch. I don't know if you're at Quail Hollow yet, but welcome, Don. We really, really appreciate you joining us. We know how busy you are, and especially with the champ coming up next week. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. No, I'm not at Augusta Ranch. I wish I was. I won't get there till actually after the senior and after Katie graduates from college at the end of the month. But I'm in South Carolina right now. We actually bought a home out here just to be closer to Katie since she's graduating. So still have the golf course, still have the home and everything in Arizona. But just wanted to be a little closer to my daughter. So it's I'm
That's
on the East
awesome.
Coast.
Well,
Yes.
good. Where in South Carolina are you?
Murrells Inlet, so just south of Myrtle
Okay.
Beach.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's really cool. Really cool spot. Well, good for you. Well, again, welcome. I'd love for you to just sort of give an overview update, on the association and what's going on. I know there's a lot going on, and just update our members, and then I'm sure we'll get some. If anybody does have any questions, you can type those into the chat. We'll be monitoring those, and I know Caitlin and I will probably have some questions for you as well.
Yeah, my pleasure. Obviously there's a lot going on. I didn't know how much time you were going to give me. I mean, I could literally fill up a whole hour with all the things that have happened.
Well,
And yeah, what do you
with
got? What
you,
do you
with
got
you
for how
and
much time do I
Kessler,
have?
with you and
I know.
Kessler, I don't know. We
We
typically
will.
wrap up. We typically wrap up at with 15 minutes left for Craig, but you
Oh,
are the
good, perfect.
president, so let's just
Well,
have
let me
at
do.
it.
I do want to have the questions, and I know people are going to send us some questions. But I
Yep.
would say, since I got elected, a lot going on, right? I mean, immediately there was a lot of announcements that happened. As far as had to hire the CEO, and Derek's been amazing. I think everybody has seen like what he's done. He's certainly exemplified who the PGA of America is. Was it mandatory that he was going to be a PGA member? We just wanted the best for the job, and Derek has been and was and has proven to be, exactly what we needed at the right exact time. So very proud of what he's accomplished. Certainly there's been a lot of talk about the rollback and where we're at with that. And, we came out a little bit. I mean, really nothing different than the two press releases we sent out in 2023 in June and in December that, we didn't think it was good for the game. But it's been great. The collaboration that's happening now at the highest level is so exciting to me. I mean, I think sometimes people can listen to respond or they can listen to learn. And I think right now, the collaboration that's happening between the Tour, the USGA, the RNA, the DP Tour, PGA World Alliance, all the recreational golf stakeholders, including the owners, the superintendents, the builders, the architects, is everybody's listening to learn. And I think there's going to be future, and I know there's going to be future meetings to discuss even more the impact on the game and what the suggestion is with the rollback. And by the way, the manufacturers too. Talked to every manufacturer CEO personally, and we feel really good about that. Derek and I, and the officers and the board. So that's been exciting. Um, I think PJ Coach Plus. That's obviously been a topic. PJ Coach was free. PJ Coach Plus is a little bit more. And why would you guys do that? Why would you allow non-PJ members to be on the PJ Coach platform? Well, we want it to be all inclusive. If we're going to grow the game, it doesn't mean we have to be the only stakeholders in it. Now, you can sort by PJ professional when it comes to those PJ Coach profiles. We hope everybody gets their PJ Coach profile. And there's always going to be a certain level of that's free. What we did find is that a lot of leads were going to PGA professionals, but they weren't following up, Nikki. And so we're like, hey, are you on there just to be on there? Or are you on there because you want to grow the game? Because we want the consumer experience when they click on your profile to have you respond back to them. And so there will be a certain amount of leads, and that's actually under discussion right now. Initially, it was like you got 2 leads for your whole life. If you're PGA Coach Plus, you get unlimited leads. And so I think we're still talking about that at the committee level. But I can assure you, having the profile, having a link to your own profile that you can put on your own social media pages, that will always be free. Now, if you want to do more, you want to go full-time teaching, you want to use that tool even more, the PGA Coach Plus platform is still incredibly inexpensive at $250 a year. So I hope a lot of people do that. I think on form is our first, moving into on the video tool. Yes, there's a cost to that. Normally it's like $299. You get a 10% discount as a PGA professional. But this is the first time we're doing what we say we were going to do. Remember, the power of PGA Coach and the profiles is that when you acquire this database of students, it now sits with you. And a lot of coaches out there, maybe their database sits with the facilities database. It's on the point of sale. I don't know how it's working, but I know I want a PJ coach's profile. I mean, PJ coach's database to move with him or her when they take another job. That's the power of the PJ professional. It's the people that we give lessons to that are loyal to us, regardless of the facility we work at. And that's what PJ coach is going to provide. And on form, what we wanted is like Salesforce, kind of, right? It's a database tool for your consumers. If PJ Coach was the database for the PJ Coach, if other software is tied into that, that would be really nice and smooth. And that's what we want some of these technology providers to do. OnForm stepped up early and said, listen, we've got the tool. We want to grow with you, and we can connect right into the PJ Coach profile. And so I'm excited about that. I think once again, you get $30 off roughly. You're down to 270. I think that's a pretty good value if you're going to teach. When we tell people, that a PJ Coach lead that comes is worth approximately about $500 is what we find out. I think we quickly can give a ROI that, getting unlimited leads, you're quickly going to pay for some of the pay for play options that are on there. I could say the Masters, I thought was amazing. It was great to see, and I love seeing Derek just work underneath that oak tree. You might think, oh, the officers are there having a good time. We certainly enjoy it, but let's be honest, we're working, and we see a lot of members there because it's a great benefit for our members, and we see a lot of people in the industry. I mean, I had an hour conversation with Jerry Tardy with Golf Digest. I had many conversations with the PJ World Alliance stakeholders, whether that's the CEO of PGA Sweden or the chair of PGA Great Britain and Ireland. Very exciting. And then I would just think, recently going to National Golf Day, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit today, and knowing the power of the storytelling that a PGA professional can do. The world is a pro-am, and when we talk to people, they listen to us because we have really good stories, and we can tie in the facts and how it actually applies to the game. And I'm really excited to be at National Golf Day and meet the legislators that I met, and the legislative directors and legislative assistants too. Our message is getting into those legislators, and that's really critical. I just came from PGA Works Collegiate Championship in Kohler. I'm telling you, Nina Kohler, serving as the chair now, and maybe you haven't heard that, but it's out. She is now the chair of our trustees. And that means Jenny Lewis, who's now the ED of PGA Reach, is working hand in hand with Nina Kohler to get Reach where it needs to be. Many of us, our sections, were a little disappointed that some of the funding has lowered for PGA Hope. It's lowered for the Opportunity Leagues and PGA Junior League. The fellows, we're only covering a little bit of that. That's not what we want, but that's what we needed to do right now. But with Nina and Jenny, I couldn't be more excited about where PGA Reach is going to go, and that's going to increase not only the brand perception of what PGA Reach is and how we're just going to explode that into the marketplace, but the funding that'll come down to the sections so that where the rubber meets the road is where the 30,000 are, and using the sections as the conduit between the money that is the member's money, getting it to the member. Well, the conduit is in sections. And so we recognize that on the national board. So that was about as fast as I could talk about giving that update. And, I'm sure I missed something, but I will tell you, I'll end with this. I don't know if you've seen the People's Perk stuff yet. And if you don't know what the People's Perk is, well,
Yeah.
then look on our Vimeo channel. There's some great videos that are already landing on there, but just look at the social media campaign. Listen, there was a lot of people who gave us a lot of grief when the ticket prices were $750. Now, let me talk about that for a second.
Mhm.
One, the secondary market typically makes all the money on tickets, right? There's scalpers out there. And is a Ryder Cup ticket worth $500? Absolutely it is. Is it worth 750? Absolutely is. Is it worth 1,000? Well, obviously it is, because that's what people are paying to go to the Ryder Cup. And last time I checked, these secondary market, they're not writing checks to veterans. They're not writing checks to works. They're not writing checks to junior league. And so why would we allow the secondary market to make the majority of the money on tickets when they're not giving money back into the system of golf? And so that is something that we wanted to do. And we know there was some sticker shock to that. But when you look at the cost of a hotel room in Manhattan, I think you can quickly understand that something that only comes around every 4 years and that is a global competition, it's a good value. Now, we knew we were doing the people's perk, but we wanted to do it when Bethpage Plaque opened up. If you've seen the videos, we're
Mm.
surprising people on the second hole, on the eighth
Really
hole.
cool.
With right, it's the best, Nikki. And
Really cool.
w-
Yeah.
this is the hardest part about leadership, and Nick knows this, is when you know you've got something in place that's going to be amazing, and everybody's ripping you because they don't know it, and you can't tell them because it's a secret. It was really nice for that launch to happen with the People's Perk. It was hard for us to keep it a secret because we knew we had an answer for these people who thought we were overpricing it and all the people that stand in line at Bethpage. But very proud of the early response to the People's Perk. And that's what the PG of America does. We take the high road. We have good strategies and plans in place. And then when we launch them, the world is like, wow, that's cool. I didn't realize they were doing that. Well, we did.
Yeah.
And believe me, the Ryder Cup's going to even better. We've got major activations happening in the next 6 months. I think it's going to surprise a lot of our members.
That's really cool. Yeah. If you haven't seen that, if you're not following PGA on social media, do it, number one. And that was, I think that kicked off yesterday or maybe the day before, but we didn't know. Caitlin, I don't know if you knew. I certainly didn't know. And I said, whoa, this is really cool.
Yep.
Good for us.
Right. Yeah. And it was hard to keep it a
Yeah.
secret. Believe me,
Yeah, I'm
you know
sure.
me, sometimes I'm not the best at secrets. I'm better than most people think. But
You did
yes,
good on that
I'm
one. You did good
got
on
a
that
lot of
one.
past presidents. Believe me, I made a lot of past presidents happy. They're texting me going, wow, this was a good one, Don. And like, hey, teamwork makes the dream work. Wasn't my idea. It was the team. But certainly the board, was excited to get that launched out.
Yeah. Let's talk about the influx we're seeing. I mean, our numbers keep going up as far as number of members, certainly number of associates, which is really, really encouraging. Any input there or insight?
Well, I think what we've done is working, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
takes a while for certain plans to actually see the results. There's still seed time and harvest, right? I mean, that's where we're at. And these seeds were planted when we made some decisions at the membership committee level of like, how do we make sure that, for instance, if a college player plays in a 2-day event, could that be a passing of the PAT? PGA World Collegiate Championship, 200 athletes there. If they shoot a certain score over a span of 2 days, can they pass the PAT? The answer is yes. So they are getting letters. The recruiters that we hired at the PGA of America to go out there to all of these different events to talk about the ability of being a PGA member and passing that test. All of these things are working, and we did not lower our standards. Yes, you can combine two 18-hole scores now on a PAT, but still, you have to pass the PAT. You have to go through the process. And so you're right, Nikki, over 8,000 associates now are out there in the queue. Now we know, just like in college, if you're a freshman, the chances of you graduating with a college degree, it's not 100%. It's about
Mhm.
50%. It's a little bit less. We have the same attrition in our associates program. So of the 8,000, how many are going to be PGA members? Well, we aspire that at least half will be. And I think now that it's in person, level 2 and level 3, I think that's going to make it more impactful. And I know the committees are talking about what do you do with level 1 right now? It's completely virtual. And all those numbers, I'm not even talking about the PGM universities, 16
Mhm.
universities, over close to 2,000 students in those universities. And that's an ever growing thing. So I think what it is good leadership, making decisions at the committee level, getting approved by the board of directors, and then letting some time happen to see if that's going to work. And I think also our really good messaging on the work-life balance. I think we were a little jacked up on you got to work 60 hours a week and that's the way it goes. And a lot of our PJ members love to say how they never play golf and they work all the time. And I think we've done a really good job of framing and listening to learn, to some of these younger professionals going, okay, I'm all in, but explain to me how I'm going to have a life too. And work-life balance isn't necessarily every day. It could be over a season. You work a lot, but then you get some downtime on the season. So I think it's the employers. I think it's the PGA of America acknowledging what the PGM students want, what our associates want, and then talking to the employers to make sure that that's getting offered when they get their jobs. And so yeah, still a lot to do on the mentoring side. I believe a lot of members, when they get their membership, okay, they think they know how to be a pro, but there's an art and a craft of being a PJ professional that can't be learned in a room or on a book. And so mentorship, all of our,
Mhm.
our older PJ members out there have been a member for a while. I think it's incumbent on them not to wait for somebody to ask them to mentor them, but us reach down into the mentees and say, hey, I want to mentor you and show you what it takes to be a PGA professional and the joy you'll have if you do it right. So I'm very excited about those numbers being up.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of success with our mentor program here. I know many other sections do the same thing, and I think we're all doing a better job of educating our kids that are playing the game, and whether they're on our section junior tour or DCP or junior league, and they already love the game, right? So we're already met half the battle. They love the game, and just educating them and their parents on all the career opportunities that the game brings, because so many people still have that stigma of you either play on TV or you teach the game. Yes, those are two great things, but there's hundreds of other career opportunities within golf. So we're not we could still do better, but I think we're doing a much better job over the last few years of educating and providing opportunities.
Yeah, and then you don't have to wait for the association or the section to put words in your mouth or build you some, you know, program. Why not at every junior clinic or every hope clinic or every adult clinic say, who would like to have my job? And see what they say. Maybe
Mhm.
they say, no way. Probably they're going to say, that would be awesome. How do
Yeah.
you do it? Well, let me walk you through it. I mean, why couldn't we do that at a junior clinic and explain to them, like, hey, I maybe everybody, I wanted to go to the big leagues and be an umpire, and I didn't. I ended up landing in golf. That's an amazing thing. So, yeah, every PJ professional should talk about their vocation and how they love it at every clinic they do. At the end, when you kind of have the muster and everybody's talking, why not just start talking about how much you enjoy your job and they could do it too? That's what recruitment's all about.
I'm going to share two fun stories, and I know it's not all about SoCal, but this kind of hits home a little bit. So, one of the best players in the world right now, Sahith Theegala, played in our junior tour. He got hurt one summer and came to us and said, I'd like to work for you guys. So we put him to work. He worked junior tour events, had a great time, got to know all of us, got to learn a little bit about what the section did beyond the junior tour. And that was really a pretty cool story. And now he still, has that connection with us and really truly understands what we do. Another fun story was one of our Hope students, James Davenport, was moved so much, not only by the program, but what he saw from the PGA members that were teaching his classes, that he's now a registered associate, and he now works for us and runs our PGA Hope program. So we have a profound impact on people. We may not always realize it, but we do. And we just have to remember that we're the best spokespeople for our game and for our industry. So.
Absolutely. And I don't mind bragging on you guys. There's something you guys do that no other section does. And it's those letters you send me celebrating 25 and 50 year members. And you send me these for me to sign so that I send them back to you and then you give them to your members. And because you know the power of a wet signature. You could easily take my digitized signature and put it on there, but it wouldn't mean as much. And I love signing those and then putting a little note next to it. And that's something you guys have done. I've obviously tapped a lot of your members on my national committees. Jamie Mulligan, I couldn't be more excited about what we're doing with PGA Coach, where we're focusing on the future and not just coaching the coaches, but coaching the parents of how to coach their kids and how to really show that this game is all about being on the golf course and teaching a love for it, not just the love of the swing, but the love of the game. So yeah, I mean, I could go on and on of the members in your section and in your staff, Nikki, that what you guys are doing on the legislative thing. I mean, you're literally running a lot of best practices that a lot of sections are doing, and heck, I'm going to brag on you. There's a reason I made you the chair of the Legislative Advocacy Committee. You, GSD, get stuff done, and I saw it. I saw you do it last week and now 2 weeks ago at National Golf Day, and Yeah, it's okay to pound your chest. PGA pros don't do it enough, and sections don't do it enough. But rest assured, you're setting a bar for a lot of sections out there, and I appreciate that because that allows me to encourage everybody to go. You're doing great, but you could do better.
Yeah, well, I appreciate those kind words. It truly is a
Yeah.
team effort, and when we speak of team, there's no better team than District 11 with our friends in NorCal, who
Yep.
does do so many amazing things. I know they've got another team at the Secretary's Cup coming up. Hopefully, they dominate again there. We're not there this year, so you guys are carrying the torch for D11, and then obviously everything that Scott Ashworth as our district director does, and of course Wes now leading the ED committee. What he's doing is great to bridge that gap between the sections and the association. It's been amazing. It's been fun to be part of it. So we appreciate the support of you and all the other officers and leadership at the association. It's exciting times for
Yeah,
sure.
it is. I mean, you guys are killing it. I mean, I think that's good. When a president's from the West Coast, you don't know what you don't know. And I think I see what you guys do in NorCal. I mean, the PJ Hope program has blossomed, and that's become a best practice because of what NorCal's doing. And then to your point, Wes, me naming him the chair of all of the EDs of the executive committee, he's already changed the PGA of America because of really leaning on me, going, Don, EDs need to be on committees. Let's put them on every committee they want to be on, and we've done it, and it's working. So yeah, this is an easy phone call to have. Not every. I know that when I do my social media posts, I rave about the sections, and believe me, we do amazing things throughout the 41. Uh, but your district is no joke. It's setting standard that I think every section should aspire to do. To be quite honest with you, you're killing it.
Well, thank you. We've had great leaders ahead of us. I know Mr. Addis is on the call. He always is. It
Yeah,
was his idea years and years ago to have the president of the PGA sign those letters, and we continue with that tradition and many, many other things and the great leaders that we've had within this district. We're just trying to carry the torch and keep it going and keep moving forward. So we thank you for that. Let's talk about Ryder Cup a little bit. What do you think the possibility is of our captain being a playing captain?
well, initially he said, I need to make the team or I'm not going to pick myself. I don't want to pick myself. And then I think he changed a little bit, said, okay, maybe if I'm, one of the six after that, I would pick myself because, the six captains picks. I don't know. I certainly know it's exciting. All I know is I want people to watch the PGA Championship and I want people to watch the Ryder Cup. Why? Because all our commercials play during those events. Look
Yeah.
at the PGA Works Collegiate Championship, all the commercials that were played during that. The PPC, all the commercials that were played during that. Don't forget, these are all just opportunities for us to tell the story of the 31,000. That's why, whether it's a spectator championship or a member championships, having those on national television is just good for the PGA of America. So, leading into the PGA Champ and all the different storylines with Rory and Jordan and Scotty, those are amazing. Xander, but the Ryder Cup, I love it. I think if he's on the team. Now, know this, as he's picked his vice captains, which he's picked a bunch of them. He's doing that so that if he is a player, the team will be well coached while he's on the course instead of in a cart.
Right. Certainly would be interesting. I'm sure it's happened before, but probably back in the 40s or 50s, right?
Arnold Palmer, I think Arnold Palmer might have been the last. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Such a different dynamic now, right? Of all the responsibilities and duties they
Yeah,
have.
but remember, we hired John for that. Why is his last name escaping me? John Davis? No, John. Who's the guy we hired? I should know the answer to that question, Nikki. But we hired a
I don't know.
manager of the Ryder Cup specifically to handle
Right.
those things. That he's going to hate me when I don't remember his name. Please don't tell him that I forgot his name because
We
he's
won't
going to
send
go
them the
great time.
recording. It's okay.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate that.
So when are you heading to Quail Hollow?
I'll drive
And
there
what
Sunday
does your
morning.
week, share with us, give us insight of what your week as president looks like next week.
Oh my gosh, it's a lot, but it's awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, listen, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I mean, I'm blessed that Augusta Ranch is doing well. I'm blessed that my kids are out of the house and then I can spend some time. And I'm blessed that Karen allowed me to do it, right? And we get to do some traveling together. But Yeah, drive down Saturday morning, or Sunday morning, to be there for the for the Secretary Cup reception, which is a really cool thing on Sunday night. Monday morning, the weather's not looking good, but obviously Secretary Cup, we're there. We're announcing on the tee. I think there's one cool thing about the Secretary Cup. The first year I was there, I'm like, why don't you just do a shotgun so that everybody gets done at the same time so that the award ceremony? Because the first year we waited for everybody to finish. I'm like, why are we doing this? And
Mhm.
Chris Nowak's like, the reason we do it, Don, is because when an officer of the PGA of America or the president is announcing their name on the first tee, it makes them a little nervous, and that's part of their rehabilitation. It's part of them getting used to being in an environment that they're incredibly uncomfortable in, but they got to get comfortable because we're trying to get them back into society, not just playing the game of golf. And I'm like, wow, okay, I get it. There's a reason for everything. But so from the Secretary Cup to the CBS dinners to talking to the members to a board meeting on Wednesday, to Karen putting together the spouse trips so that the board spouses are closer together. All of it is building team and building community, giving tours, touring all the chalets, talking to our partners, telling them thank you in person with the firm handshake, and then providing tours to some of our future partners and explaining why they should be partners with us. A big picture with the PGA Junior League kids. Very rarely watch any of golf. I mean, the only shots I truly watch at golf are usually when we're behind the green on the 18th on Sunday, waiting for the finishers to get done so we can hand out a trophy. And certainly excited about that. I think you watch as secretary, vice president to president do that, and you're like, oh my gosh, now it's my turn. I hope I don't mess it up. And I won't think that way. It's just like being on the first tee. Don't think, don't hit it in the bunker, don't hit
Right.
it in the water. So I'm not going to say don't mess it up. I'm going to say that I'm going to, represent the 31,000 as best I can, when we're handing that trophy over to our champion. But it's extremely busy week. We usually, up at 5:30. I actually try to work out that week just to get my mind right. It gives me a little private time in the morning, and try to get to the golf course, by 7. And then usually we're in PJ hospitality, entertaining people till 10, 11 at night. So it's a long, exhausting week, but it's exactly what you sign up for. And then
Yeah.
in that week, it's a major. So I'm getting all the CBS contacts. There'll be NBC people there also. And then I see all the members. I see a lot of EDs because a lot of EDs come. So it's truly an opportunity for me to touch every aspect of the PGA of America, for the philanthropic side to our trade association side, and just tell everybody thanks.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, have a great week. I'm going to turn it over. I
Yeah.
think both Nick and Caitlin might have a couple questions. Nick, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Don. I love all the updates and just love your enthusiasm in general. I think you mentioned a lot within the story of storytelling and how important that is. I think, for those on the call, can you give us how important that is or what you really look for when you're a director of golf or director of instruction, head pro, how important is that to share the message of what you're doing as you're doing it, right? At your home
Yeah,
club.
right. That's a good point. I don't think we do that enough. I think like when I was going up through through the profession, in order to make more money, I had to be a GM. In order to control my schedule a little bit, I had to be a GM. And I think that's a little unfortunate. What's happened to our association is they put us in an office. And I've said this before, they made us bean counters, and we are seed planters. That's where we should be. And so I would remind everybody, Nick, on the call that just you have to manage your business by walking around. And whether that's talking to the staff and catching them doing it right, like the old 1 Minute Manager book says, or talking to the players out there and tell them a couple stories. I mean, at the end of the day, the PJ member at every facility is a celebrity, whether they believe it or not. People want to talk to you when you drive the golf course. And I mean, get out of your office and drive the front nine and just say hello to a bunch of people and see the golf course that you haven't maybe played as often as you wanted to. But go play 2 holes. I mean, why not? Grab your putter and drive around and make a couple putts with the members. I just think we don't tell our story at all, and that's what we have to do, and so that people get excited about the course they play at, or the pro that is the pro at their facility. So that's it. I think that the words are the reason I'm doing what I'm doing on social media. John Linder traveled way more than I have traveled. That's a fact. Everybody doesn't know that because John didn't post on social media. Everybody says, Don, you're all over the place, and I am, but it's because I'm better in person than on paper. But I'm telling everybody on social media what I'm doing. Every golf professional could, on their own Instagram or Facebook accounts, post a couple pictures of the high fives in their clinics or the fundraising they're doing with shotgun starts. And we need to do more of that. We're the best promoters we have, is just telling what we're doing every day. Don't wait for somebody else to do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that kind of leads into my last question here, and then I'll turn it over to Caitlin. But golf has enjoyed this resurgence over the last 5 years and has really been, just an awesome part to be a part of. Obviously, there's a lot of things in flux with the economy, and which direction is it going to go? People are, all of a sudden thinking harder about what they're purchasing, whether they're going to join a club, all of that stuff. How how's your sense, first of all, and then how would you advise our fellow PGA professionals on, what can we do to, kind of keep golf, even if the economy starts going south, keep golf at the forefront?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Discretionary spending could go down. We don't know what we're going to see. We got 28.1 million golfers out there now. Awesome. 47.2 on and off the golf course. What I would say, I think it goes back to what I just said, Nick. It's about relationship. Like, there's some things you're going to stop doing in life when times get tough. You're not going to go out to eat as much. You're going to have to pick things. We have to make sure that golf is not something that they pick to not do. They have to say, I have to do this. My family's important to me. I'm going to go play golf. I'm not going to get rid of my membership. I'm not going to play any less. I might have to pick some times that I can afford. I mean, the people that are doing dynamic pricing, which I call personal pricing, if you're price sensitive, there should be some times a day that you can play at a price you can afford. I hope every operator is doing that. But I think that's the key, is if we commoditize the experience at the golf course, then that means we will be commoditized when they don't have the money to pay for it. If we put the relationship side of it, and we shake hands, and we give high fives, and we walk around our businesses, when they decide what they're going to do less of, they're going to do less of something else. But they're not going to give away happiness. They're not going to give away time with their family. What I noticed at Top Tracer at Augusta Ranch is that people are playing golf together. And I think we have to be our own funnels. And if there's any investment dollars that should be going into a facility right now, it should be human capital, really good PGA professionals who build relationship, and then anything that becomes a funnel for their facility, so that we can create more players and have a transition from maybe the restaurant. To me, the restaurant, 100% of Americans eat. 10% of the population plays golf. How do I get the restaurant people onto my golf course? And it's not to the first tee. It has to be a route that goes to the range, to the putting green, to glow ball golf, to something that makes their club part of their life, not just part of a round of golf. So we have to think that way.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you. Caitlin, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Nick. Hey, Don, it's great to have you on. Appreciate everything you're doing for us as always, and making the time for SoCal and NorCal. Obviously, Frisco now, I think you call it the home quarters. I love that term you've coined. But could you talk a little bit about that and kind of the growth you've seen at Frisco? And I guess we've been there about 2 years now, right? So maybe walk us through that. I know a lot of the new seminars, or you guys are making way more seminars for all the level 2 and 3. So maybe just kind of give an update on that.
Well, I think it is. We have a studio there, right? I mean, we built a studio inside the first floor of that home quarters so that we could film a lot of stuff there. I mean, heck, when Derek and I did the Golf Channel interview, we did it from the PGA of America studios, or right there from our home quarters. So you're exactly right. I think that that first floor, we're utilizing it more. I think Jeff Price and his team are utilizing it more. Jeff's our chief of marketing and development, business development. And we're able to tell the story. You come into that home quarters, you make a right, you walk down this hallway of our history, our why. We want partners of the PGA of America to not ask what we're going to do for them, but why we do what we do. And then they want to tie onto that because they love the message, whether it's the C6 message of the 31,000 or the C3 set message, right? The not-for-profit side of PGA Reach. So I think we're starting to understand what we've got there, which is an amazing opportunity to tell our story. I would say Derek Sprague in the last 100 days since he's been there has done more. He's there every day, Caitlin. He drives into work. He told us today, we're in a meeting, that he was there till 9 o'clock last night having conversations with staff people there because they want to talk to it doesn't matter if it's Augusta Ranch or it's the PGA of America, they want to talk to the main guys sometimes. They want to hear it from them how much they care. And Derek is doing that. And so I think certainly our partners at Omni and what we're doing in the the KPMG Women's PGA Championship will be in there in June. Super excited about that. But the whole thing is doing exactly what we wanted it to do. And even the teaching and coaching center, where now we're sampling and trying out new technology in our own that we own teaching and coaching building right there on the range at Omni PGA Frisco. So it's good. The new associates that are getting in there are getting a taste of the why they're going. And I think our attrition of who goes from level one to PJ member is going to get way better because now they're seeing our why and not just asking what. And that's going to pay a lot of dividends.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more. And I just love going there. You do feel like you're at home, so it's a special place for sure. We do have a question from one of the participants here, so I'm going to ask that, and then I have some fun rapid fire questions for you to kind of end the day before we toss it
Okay.
over to Craig. So this one is: have we thought about working with the USGA to increase the number of clubs allowed in the bag? A pitching wedge used to be 48 loft, now around 44 loft. Many players need an extra club. Thoughts there,
Uh,
Don?
that is interesting, right? I used to tell students about the gap wedge, like literally because the lofts on our clubs got stronger, all of a sudden there was a gap in our bag because a sand wedge has been 56 degrees forever. I have not had that conversation. I had dinner with Mike Wan at the Players Championship, and we talked about handicaps and money coming back to the sections. We talked about the rollback of the ball. We talked about the National Golfer Development Program and PJ members being more involved in that. But we did not talk about 15 clubs in the bag. But since that question's asked, I'm sure I'm going to see Mike here in the future. I'll ask him what they think about 15 clubs. I'm sure it would make the manufacturers happy because it'd be one more club they could buy. But let me handle the rollback of the ball first. So let me get there, then we'll worry about an extra club.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I love it. Okay, so now the fun part, Don. We've grilled you enough, so we're going to start with some rapid fire questions. So I guess the first one is going to be your favorite course. This is, wherever. Doesn't have to be in California. And then the second part is favorite course in California. So we'll see between the two, NorCal, SoCal, which one you pick.
Oh man, come on, you put the pressure on me. Um, you know, favorite course, Pine Valley. Actually, when I was a board of director for the National Golfers Course Owners Association, they got me on Pine Valley. One of the board members knew somebody, and it was cool just because I like the fact that it was what it was. I mean, it wasn't super fancy as a private club, but it was fancy enough, right? Where you were like, wow, that was cool. So it's kind of the whole experience, Kate. And Pine Valley's cool, and it's up there. And I'm not trying to flex on anybody, but I got a chance to play it, and it was really cool. Um, in California, you're going to laugh. And this is completely different than anybody was going to say. But when I worked at Home Depot, I worked at Balboa and Genesee in San Diego, the Balboa Genesee store right there. That was my first job. I was going to San Diego State. And I had a college at Grossmont. There's a little short drive from there. And Tecolote Canyon was right there. And that's where I got really good at golf, is because I got done with work at 3. I had a class at Grossmont Mesa. And so I had some time and I'd go to the Tecolote Canyon. I'd play it. It's a little short course. And I hit balls on that range. And my game got pretty good. And I think so when I played the PAT, which I passed on my first try after I got done being an umpire, because I went from Home Depot to umpiring for 9 years to getting into the golf industry. So no one ever would pick that on the list. And I'm sure it's beat up a little bit now. I haven't been there in ages, but there were some formative years of my life at Tecolote Canyon down there in San Diego.
That's awesome. Really special. It's usually those courses, right, that you have those special memories at that are always your top picks. That's pretty cool. Okay, how about your favorite club in your bag, Don?
Oh, that new AI smoke driver is no joke from Callaway, dude. I love that Callaway driver. So that's it. I gotta say it's the driver. And I work at a short course, so that's kind of silly, but it's that dark driver. That thing is so good.
Yeah, I've hit those as rental clubs when I was in Hawaii, and I can agree the AI smokes. I'm like, I need to get some new clubs because these things are sweet. So I can relate on that. Okay, how about your dream foursome?
I've had that question before, and I always think about it after I'm done. Um, and my brother hates my most recent answer because he texted me and said, "Really?" Because I bumped him. He's not in the foursome anymore. My son doesn't play a lot of golf, but I want him in that foursome because when we are on the golf course together, it's always a good time. My daughter has to be there because she's going to get into golf. She's going to graduate. She's on the softball team now, so she didn't want to ruin her swing, which I think is a fallacy. But she wouldn't play golf because of her softball swing, so she's got to be in there. And then I got to say, my dad. I miss him. I wish he was alive when I became president, but I can't remember what we shot. But my rounds with my dad. So be my son, my daughter, and my dad.
Fair enough. That's special. And I mean, honestly, too, I gotta point this out. I mean, obviously, Nick and I were at the annual meeting when you got elected. But I mean, hearing your daughter talk about you and your campaign speech before you got up there as our next president, I mean, I was crying. So I mean, I'm sure it was pretty special to hear the relationship you have with her. So yeah, I can see how that would mean a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me cry right now. I mean, I was
Yeah.
very proud of her. It was just a good day.
And she's graduating.
I know.
Yay,
It's amazing.
Katie. That's awesome.
Yeah, the first person in my family. I never graduated college. I dropped out to be an umpire, and she'll be the first one in the
That's
history of my
awesome.
family to get a college degree. So very proud of her.
That's
That's
very
awesome.
cool. Congrats.
Enjoy that. Okay, so last one here, and then we'll toss it over to Craig here to wrap us up. But obviously, you kind of said, you were going to work out during the PGA Championship, and I know there's probably some other things you do. But what do you do to keep sane, right? Like, what keeps Don Ray, sane with all the things he's got going on in his life?
Gina Vance. I would say Gina Vance does. Everybody doesn't know Gina Vance, but when you're an officer, you get an assistant. I'll never forget. She said, "Okay, I'm going to do your schedule now." And I'm like, "Hey, Gina, I know what I'm doing. I just became secretary. Been running my own life for a long time." But she, she was a cop in LA, and she was shot. She was stabbed, and so when she protects my schedule, she's legit. You're not going to intimidate her. So yeah, I think she helps me with the work-life balance. I think it's certainly my wife and daughter, they understand. There's some of these little interventions that have to happen with me because I love it. I freaking love what I do right now. I know it's what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel it, so I don't feel stressed at all about it. But too much sugar, too much anything could be something bad for you. So I appreciate those in my life that aren't afraid to say, "Easy, fella, you're doing too much." And because I would do it all day long. I would do it. I dig this thing. And I have 18 months left. And believe me, for the rest of my life, you're not going to shut up Don Ray. I promise you. But I do feel like time is of the essence, and I'm gonna run through the tape. That's for certain. But yeah, my family and Gina Vance, they definitely protect me, and I appreciate them so much.
Amazing. We love it. Well, thanks, Don. Great answers, and it's nice to just get to know you a little bit better. And we appreciate you representing our entire PGA Association, and you do it well. And we're honored to have you. So thanks for spending some time with us this morning.
No, my pleasure. Thank you. I'm
All
staying
right,
on for
Mr.
Craig Kessler because I got to listen to
hope-
Mr. Kessler.
I was
But
hoping
we
that
don't
you
have any
had
more time. Sorry, Craig. We're out of time, brother. It's all over, dude.
He can cram it. Craig, you've got 15 minutes. I know you can do it.
Well, it looks like I have 16, so I'm going to spend the
Well,
first minute
Okay.
telling everyone the first time I met Don Ray. I remember it. He may not remember. It's before he was an officer of the PGA of America. I think you were on the NGCOA board of directors, and he cornered me in a bar at a CGCOA event in conjunction with the Golf Industry Show in San Diego. It was a rainy night. It was cold, and I kind of wanted to go to sleep because I'd started the morning in Napa and done a lot of flying to get to this place. And I was regaled with some of the most ambitious and aspirational plans I had ever heard. But Don, I want to tell you, you actually accomplished everything that night you said you were going to do, which is just amazing. And I know you have 18 more months at least to continue accomplishing more things. So in all, I too admire people who get stuff done. You're someone who gets stuff done. I admire you very greatly, and I think golf is very lucky to have you at a national leadership level. Much appreciated. Now we'll talk about others. Now we'll talk about the state of California and the legislative agenda, because now I have 15 minutes left. I may yield the floor a minute early, Nikki, and surprise you. So May is an interesting month. We're in the May month of the California legislative calendar, which means that of all those thousands of bills that were filed earlier in the year, they either did make it through their policy committees or they didn't make it. If they did make it this month, they all go to appropriations hearings. Most of those bills with fiscal consequences go to something called a suspense file, and those hearings, the one in the Senate's the 23rd. That's the one I'm watching. The one in the Assembly is a little less important to us. I can say that the bills that we supported in this year, AB 310 has already made it through and has gone from the Assembly to the Senate. That's very important to junior golf programs because it eliminates the requirement that junior golf programs have a medical professional to handle automated electronic defibrillators and just have one of their coaches who's trained. That may seem like a small matter, but that's a huge matter, whether it's PGA Junior League or First Tee or Youth on Course or any of those programs, and that's moving forward. Also, the water bills we're supporting are in appropriations. I think they'll all come off of suspense. They will go to the other house. I think one of them will pass and be signed by the governor with flying colors. The other one's a bill we supported last year, setting for the first time in California history targets on water supply and upping that target 9 million acre feet by the year 2050 in order to make up for the amount of rain and snow that we're going to lose because of a warming, drying climate. The governor vetoed it last year, ostensibly on grounds that the costs of it weren't in the budget. The real reason was he'd already upset his environmental base on a couple of other things that are also important to us. And you got to keep in mind, he's a politician who may want to run for president someday, and you can't upset your base 3 times at the same time. And those other things, the site's reservoir, or more importantly, the Delta Conveyance Plan, are more timely than a target of 2050. Well, the good news is the $17 million that it's going to cost to facilitate those targets is in this year's draft budget. But of course, we're told that when the updated budget perspectives comes out on May 15th, California's in a bigger deficit than we actually thought at the beginning of the year. They keep ratcheting that number up. So we'll see what happens. Now on to the one bill that we are viscerally opposed to, which is Senate Bill 51, which would take California from what we do right now, which is flip our clocks 8 months on daylight saving time, 4 months on standard time, and take us the opposite way of the way we voted in 2018 was to go to permanent daylight saving time as soon as Congress sanctioned it. We would flip that the other way and immediately go to permanent standard time, which is permissible under federal law. And based on what I heard in Washington, D.C., will probably remain permissible under federal laws. I don't see the Senate even taking up perhaps the Sunshine Protection Act, which would maybe federally preempt what the state of California can do. So that bill, SB 51, has made it through its policy committee barely. I testified in opposition, and we thought for a time there that it might not get the 9th necessary vote to get out of committee, but just before they adjourned at about 9:20 on a Monday night, PM that is, it got the 9th vote to get out of committee. Well, that's actually kind of good news because it means that 8 members stayed off of it or voted no. And so should this get out of appropriations and to the floor, where it requires a 2/3 vote, its chances of passage are very slim. But it's important that we continue to take our opposition position, because what I've come to learn, I never thought doing this that I'd end up being an expert in the history of daylight saving time in America. I just didn't think that pertained to the golf industry, but apparently it very much does. And that is that there is a national movement made up of sleep disorder specialists only, not others from the medical profession, who are organized and dedicated to moving to standard time. And they want the decision to do that based upon one and only one factor that goes into a final decision. They don't much care about the economic consequences. They don't seem to care much about the health consequences of losing an hour of after-school programming for a generation of kids who are predicted to lead shorter lives than their parents and grandparents due to inactivity. That doesn't seem to concern them. It doesn't concern them that the voters of the state of California voted 60% to go to daylight saving time. So I'm always aware that an organized, dedicated, funded minority can beat an overwhelming majority every time. So while I am very optimistic that this bill is not going to become law in the state of California this year, I think we have to be mindful that last year it got moved into a study. This year it got out of committee. My hope is that it gets held in appropriations because there is some question that it may require a separate vote of the people. And given all the issues that California has going on right now, given the costs of an election, given the fact that 8 members on the committee stayed off of it, given the fact that this is a Republican bill with no Democratic co-sponsor, and they had to have tried to get one in California, that is kind of key to getting anything passed, is at least have a Democratic co-sponsor. It's probably going nowhere, but it will come back, and it will come back, and it will come back. We're at least a little bit lucky in California in the sense that there is no Democratic co-sponsor, but in our companion state in the Pacific time zone, Nevada, that bill has made it through the assembly, although I am told it's running into some hiccups in the Senate. And it made it there because it has Democratic and Republican co-sponsors, which is probably a little less important in Nevada than it might be in California. But keep mindful of that. So even though I expect this bill to fail, and the earlier the better, because each time they progress, they're going to become more bold and come back. And like I said, there is a national movement, but there's no corresponding national movement in favor of daylight time. Although when people are polled, it's always the preference. So that's something to keep in the back of our mind. So a lot of good news there, a little bit of longer term troubling news, because I don't want everyone to just forget the issue when I put out a note that it failed at some point during this year's legislative process. I think another good piece of news about this year's legislative process is, unlike previous years where we were looking at legislation that, we were lucky, we were able to get exceptions for PGA golf professionals operating as independent contractors, but we weren't sure of that when the legislation was proposed. Last year, we dealt with a bill that would have prohibited the use of all fertilizers and pesticides in California's coastal zone. That would have been a death sentence for, speaking of places like Torrey Pines or Pebble Beach, and there are many others in California. We were very successful in getting that particular provision amended out of the bill, and then later in the process, it ultimately died. And then we dealt with a couple of years with things that we tagged the Public Golf Endangerment Acts, which would have put up forward a lot of free money to take municipal golf courses, the heart and soul and the growth sector of the game, and turn them into affordable housing complexes. And keeping in mind on that issue, doesn't matter what sector you poll in California, it can be a rural district, an urban district, coastal, San Joaquin Valley, a district that voted for Kamala Harris, a district that voted for Trump, and you ask all those voters what their number one concern is in California, and it's affordable housing. So imagine having to tackle a bill that ostensibly was to solve affordable housing by chopping up your golf courses. We prevailed on that as well, and I think that's testament that our reputation in Sacramento is growing as I think a responsible and credible lobby, in the sense that we are pretty transparent and intellectually honest. And I think we've also been helped over the years that we get a lot of good press and good comments when the many water retailers and public utilities and water wholesalers in this state also meet with our legislators and meet with the governor's office. They have good things to say about our industry, so we can be proud of that record in terms of reducing our water footprint and being environmentally very, very responsible. That is good news. So that helps our reputation. As I always preach, everything we do affects how something else is going to come down the line later, which is why it's extremely important, I think, to keep up that reputation. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the 2 sections that are on this phone, because after the California Alliance, penned its rather complicated 4 pages of very small print arguments against Senate Bill 51, once it got through committee, I've tagged whether it's multiple course operators or junior golf programs. I'm told Youth on Course and some of the first tee chapters are going to join us with letters of opposition. And that's important because they have no business or profit motive incentive in this. They raise money to give it away to these particular programs. And the two sections, NorCal, PGA and SoCal, wrote two really good letters. And they were very different, and that's important. So it was clear that this was not necessarily orchestrated. You took some of the arguments out of the California Alliance for Golf's bigger letter on the subject, but you took the ones that were appropriate, I think, to who you represent. And I've encouraged that, whether it's Pro Kids Academy in San Diego or Youth on Course or some of the others that are coming with support letters. So I feel good about that. I feel good about well, I feel good about the fact that there was a bill in the legislature that's now been morphed into a 2-year bill. I won't go into details what that means. It means it won't be heard until next year. That dealt with regulation of glyphosate. And interestingly, the person running the bill for a newly elected state senator was someone who ran the bills as a staffer on one of the Public Golf Endangerment Acts. And basically, when our lobbyists contacted that person, said, "We don't want to mess with golf again, so don't worry about it. You'll be just fine, as you were with some of the other pesticide bills or the neonicotinoid bills, in which we have been able to demonstrate that the way in which we apply these things with licensed applicators is very similar. In fact, is even better than the way agriculture does it." And so we've been able to get exceptions and exemptions based upon that. So as my time is nearing an end, I've got a couple of minutes and I may even go off early. I'm just going to leave you with one thing that we'll take up in the future, and you may see it in writing for those of you who get those California Alliance for Golf newsletters. I have to say, I was rattled when I read a couple of days ago a story in the Orange County Register that Oak Creek golf course in Irvine there's a serious proposal from the Irvine company to close it in favor of building 3,100 houses. Now, it's a daily fee golf course. It's a very expensive golf course that yet has 70,000 rounds and has a practice facility that's so good, they sell memberships there. And actually, I got fitted there. That's how with clubs. And yes, I love my driver too. It's got a 30-gram staff. It's great, Don. As you get older, you got to have a 30-gram staff to hit the ball anywhere. So what rattled me about that is we all know, and I've said this many, many times, that we have to be mindful long term that what happened in Los Angeles, California, the second largest city in the country, which 60 years ago was dotted with daily fee facilities, now is home to, now even was dotted with all those facilities when the population was less than half it is today, and a smaller percentage of that population played golf. Today only has 2 kinds of golf course in this entire city of 4 million people, which happens to be my hometown. And that is very expensive private clubs and municipal facilities. And that may explain in large part why we fought so hard on those Public Golf Endangerment Acts. Now, if we're starting to see that happen in a place like Orange County, where an extremely successful daily fee golf course is slated for closure in favor of 3,100 houses, that's 70,000 rounds that are going to go somewhere else. I suppose if you own, Don, if you can own one of those somewhere else, you can see long-term in the way we look at these things. When the demand keeps going up, the supply is going down. And as that plays out, it's incumbent upon golf to come up with some long-term strategies. How do we cope with that long-term? Because what happens in Los Angeles tends to spread to California, tends to spread to much of the rest of the country over time. So that it's wonderful that, as Nick said, in the last 5 years, we've had this great resurgence and demand is incredible. But ultimately, if there are fewer places to play and those fewer places become more and more expensive, and particularly as we lose the sort of development golf course, because no one starts out at Torrey Pines or Cypress Point. They start off at Augusta Ranch, might be a good place to start out. And the equivalents in California is we begin to lose those things. It's important. We want to be we want golf to be, with this, I'm talking to golf professionals mostly here. You want an expanding economy. You want more people playing golf on more golf courses. That's more opportunities. It's better for the game. It's better for everything across the board. So I just tease you on that one. That one got my attention. We'll do a little more study. We'll see what happens longer term with it. But if Oak Creek can go, anywhere can go. Because it's one thing when a course that's maybe been really badly operated and needs millions of dollars to come back into form and gives up the ghost, that's one thing. But when a facility like this is thinking of changing because there's a demand for a much higher and better economic use and a societal use, I think that's a shot across our bow. It's an early shot, and I think we need to pay attention to it at all those levels. And with that, it's now 11 o'clock, Nikki, and I'm going to shock you by signing off right on time.
Amazing. Amazing.
My clock shows 11:01, Craig. So I'm just saying it's fine.
Well, when I stopped talking, it was 11.
All right. Well, we appreciate you keeping us informed as usual, Craig. Lots going on in California as always. So I'll wrap up here today for the crew. Just a big thank you to both Don and Craig for both of your guys' leadership and what you do. And we appreciate you making the time today. Also wanted to shout out real quick too. Obviously, everyone I'm sure is going to enjoy watching the champ next week. A big shout out to Michael Block from SoCal who qualified, as well as Tom Johnson here from NorCal. So nice to see two in the team of 20 come from California. So we'll be rooting them on. And if you guys called in today and you are on the phone, make sure you reach out to your section office to get the PDR credits. We do have our next call scheduled for June 13th. So I'm not sure if we have a speaker just yet, Nikki, but we're working on that. So we'll be sure to let you guys know. And I think that's it from me. I'll toss it to you, Nikki, to see if there's anything else that I missed.
I think we're good. We'll wrap it up. Thank you both so much for being on. Don, have an awesome week. It's Champ Week. It's exciting. One of the best weeks of the year for our association. I know you're going to represent us well. And the trophy presentation will be spot on. I just know it. So thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And we will see you June 13th.